Here's the single most common reason parents don't open a 529 college savings account: what if my kid doesn't go to college? That fear, valid or not, keeps millions of families from using one of the most tax-efficient savings vehicles available. And that fear just got a lot less relevant. Because thanks to a new rule from the Secure 2.0 Act, unused 529 money can now be rolled into a Roth IRA for your child, giving them a head start on retirement even if college was never in the picture. Today we're going to cover how 529 plans work, the state tax deductions most people are leaving on the table, how much to actually save, and exactly how the new rollover rule works and who qualifies. By the end, you'll have a complete picture of whether a 529 makes sense for your family, and if it does, a clear plan for how to use it. A 529 is a state-sponsored investment account designed for education expenses. You contribute after-tax money, you've already paid income tax on it, and then it grows completely free of federal taxes. When you withdraw the money for qualifying expenses, those withdrawals are also completely tax-free. So unlike a taxable brokerage account where your gains are subject to capital gains tax, a 529 grows without any federal tax drag whatsoever. Qualifying expenses include tuition, fees, books, supplies, and room and board at accredited colleges and universities, and since 2018, also up to $10,000 per year for K-12 tuition at private or religious elementary and secondary schools. In 2019, student loan repayments were added as a qualified expense, up to $10,000 lifetime per beneficiary. You choose the beneficiary, typically your child or grandchild, and you control the investments within the account. Most 529 plans offer a range of age-based portfolios that automatically shift from stocks to bonds as the beneficiary gets closer to college age, similar to how a target date fund works. The account belongs to you, not the child. You remain in control, which means you can change the beneficiary to another family member at any time, a sibling, a cousin, even yourself, if the original beneficiary doesn't end up needing the funds. Here's a benefit that a lot of parents overlook entirely. 36 states plus the District of Columbia offer a state income tax deduction or credit for contributions to their state's 529 plan. This means on top of the federal tax-free growth, you're getting an immediate tax benefit at the state level just for contributing. Let's put some numbers on this. In Virginia, you can deduct up to $4,000 per account per year from your state taxable income. Virginia's top state income tax rate is 5.75%, so that $4,000 deduction is worth $230 per year per account. In New York, contributions up to $5,000 per year for single filers and $10,000 for married couples are deductible. At New York's top state rate of 10.9%, a $10,000 contribution generates $1,090 in immediate state tax savings. That's essentially a 10% immediate return before any investment growth. A few states, including Arizona, Kansas, and Missouri, let you deduct contributions to any state's 529 plan, not just their own. But most states require you to use their plan to get the deduction. If you don't live in a state that offers a deduction, like California or Florida, you have the freedom to shop around for the best plan nationally. Nevada's Vanguard plan and Utah's plan consistently rank among the best for low fees and investment options. The question of how much to save in a 529 is genuinely tricky, because college costs are hard to predict, and overfunding a 529 used to be a real problem. Here's a reasonable framework. According to the College Board, the average annual cost of attendance, tuition, fees, room and board, at a four-year public in-state university for 2024 to 2025 was about $24,200. At a four-year private nonprofit, it was about $60,000 per year. Assuming 3% annual inflation in college costs, a child born today would face roughly $44,000 per year at a public school and $110,000 per year at a private school by the time they start college in 18 years. For a public school target, you'd want to have roughly $175,000 saved by the time they start. To get there starting from birth, you'd need to contribute about $350 to $400 per month, assuming a 6% average annual return. For context, that's doable, but it's also a significant commitment. A more common approach is to aim to cover 50 to 75% of projected costs, with the assumption that scholarships, part-time work, and minimal student loans fill the gap. The worst approach is to do nothing and just hope for the best. This is the fear that stops people, so let's address it directly. If your child doesn't attend a traditional 4-year college, your options are more flexible than you think. First, trade school, community college, vocational programs, and registered apprenticeships that participate in federal student aid programs qualify for tax-free 529 distributions. So if your kid becomes an electrician, a welder, or a cosmetologist through a qualifying program, those expenses may qualify. Second, you can change the beneficiary to another family member at any time without tax or penalty. Sibling, cousin, parent, even yourself. If you have multiple kids, any unused amount from one can be redirected to another. Third, if none of those options work and you just need to take the money out, you pay ordinary income tax plus a 10% penalty on the earnings, not the contributions. Since your contributions were already taxed, only the investment gains are penalized. If the account earned 40% over many years, the penalty applies to that 40%, not the full balance. And fourth, the option that just got dramatically more attractive, you can now roll unused 529 funds into a Roth IRA for the beneficiary. Starting in 2024, the Secure 2.0 Act created a new rule allowing 529 account owners to roll unused 529 funds into a Roth IRA for the beneficiary. This is a significant change. Here are the details you need to know. The 529 account must have been open for at least 15 years before you can roll funds from it. The rollovers count toward the beneficiary's annual Roth IRA contribution limit, currently $7,000 per year. The lifetime rollover limit is $35,000. The beneficiary must have earned income equal to or greater than the amount being rolled over. Any contributions made to the 529 in the last 5 years, along with their earnings, are not eligible for rollover. In practice, this means a parent who opens a 529 for a newborn, contributes regularly for 18 years, and finds the account partially unused when their child finishes school, can begin rolling that leftover money into the child's Roth IRA. Over the subsequent 5 years, up to $35,000 moves into the Roth, giving the child a head start on tax-free retirement savings. It won't fully cover college costs for most families, but the dual-purpose flexibility makes overfunding concerns far less serious. Here's where to start. If you have children and you're not using a 529, open one today. The state tax deduction alone often makes early contributions essentially free money. Start with your state's plan to capture any deduction, then compare fees. Look for plans with expense ratios under 20 basis points on index fund options. Contribute consistently. Even $200 per month started at birth puts you in a strong position. Name yourself as the beneficiary. If your child is very young and you're uncertain, you can change it later. Don't be scared of overfunding anymore. The new 529 to Roth rollover rule means any surplus becomes a retirement head start for your child. And if college never happens at all, the penalty only applies to earnings, and the flexibility to change beneficiaries means the money stays in the family. A 529 isn't perfect, it's less flexible than a taxable account, and the 10% penalty on non-qualified earnings is real. But for a family committed to education savings, it remains the most tax-efficient vehicle available. Act early, contribute consistently, and let the tax-free growth do its work. Next up, disability insurance, the coverage almost nobody buys, even though 1 in 4 workers will need it before retirement. That's video 55. Subscribe and don't miss it.